Teach a seducer a lesson. It was Sunday, 5 a.m. on the East Coast when my cell phone rang. We live in Williamsburg, Virginia, where I am a senior partner in an international law firm. Zoe, my stunning wife of 18 years, with whom we have been married for 18 years, was in Vegas for the weekend. She was accompanying her niece, Susie, and her bridesmaids to a bachelorette party, along with Susie's mom, her older sister, Gwen. The display said Las Vegas. I'm Mike Taylor, and that certainly didn't bode well. I answered, "Allo, it's night outside. Hey, baby, I know it's early. I'm sorry I woke you up." "Okay, don't worry, Zoe. You're gonna have to wake up sometime anyway. Are you okay? Are the girls okay?" "I'm fine, honey, but I'm afraid I need to tell you about something I did. I don't think you'll be happy." The hair on the back of Mike's neck stood up. "Well, the best way to break bad news is to get right to the point. Go ahead, I'm listening." Last night, Susie and her friends decided to have a party at the Hustler, a men's strip club, to have a good time before the wedding. God, those guys are great. Anyway, we sat there for about 2 hours drinking while the young people stuck 5s and 10s in the strippers' thongs. Gwen and I sipped light beers and mostly chatted, although I admit I did knock over a glass or two. So far, so good, yeah? Well, we eventually moved on to the Mirage, one of the trendy dance clubs. Again, Gwen and I mostly just hung out and looked after the bride and her girlfriends. There were tons of men there, young and old, hot and unassuming, sexy and shy. I mean, you could have picked any one of a dozen if you wanted to, and there were just as many other options. The girls started dancing with different guys, while Gwen and I sat there feeling old and out of place in this swanky club. I guess that didn't last too long? No, babe. One young college student guy kept coming up to me, trying to buy me drinks and ask me to dance. Some kid was hitting on Gwen, too. My boyfriend was probably 6 feet tall and just handsome in terms of looks. He had a smile on his face, and he kept flirting with me, telling me how hot I was and that I should dance with a real man. Have you, danced with a real man? Well, yes and no. I mean, he was only 21, so he wasn't old or experienced enough to be a real man, but he looked like a man, and someone had certainly taught him the right way to treat a single girl missing her beloved husband. Like I said, Gwen was consumed with fighting with her alpha, so I was left to my own devices. Eventually, after he was persistent and didn't want to leave, I agreed to one dance. You certainly limited yourself to one dance, my faithful wife. Mike sat on the edge of the bed, listening and nervously running his right hand back and forth over his head, feeling his anger rising. He could already feel where this was going. Sure, baby. It was just one dance, but that dance was slow, and he kept pressing into me, leaving no room for imagination. And when I say that, I don't just mean his body. This young guy was handsome and muscular. All in all, he was just amazing. I was breathing hard, and I'm sure I was flushed a little. Any girl in my position would have blushed too. Keep going. I thanked him for the dance and gave him a light peck on the cheek before walking back to my table. He followed me and kept insisting that we leave and find a quieter place to get more intimate. I was polite. I thanked him, but declined. Actually, Mike, I wasn't flirting with him or trying to seduce him, but it was clear that he wanted to seduce me and intended to get his way. The last comment was met with silence, so Zoe continued. I apologized and headed to the ladies' room to cool down and clean up. When I came out, Ted, that was his name, was waiting for me in the dimly lit hallway. He pulled me to him, wrapping his big, strong arms around me. His hot breath washed over me. Then he tried to slip his tongue into my mouth, groping my ass at the same time. He sensed that I was helpless and vulnerable to whatever he wanted to do to me. It was clear that he intended to make love to your helpless, sweet wife. But you didn't stay in the dimly lit hallway, did you? No, baby, I didn't let that happen. I took his hand and asked him to take me to his car for a little alone time away from the noise. He was grinning from ear to ear as he led me to the parking lot behind the club. He was driving a brand new Volvo SUV, so I assumed his daddy was strapped for cash and Teddy Boy was used to getting his way. He pressed the unlock button on his key fob, opened the back door of the SUV, and leaned over to kiss me one more time before we made ourselves comfortable in the back seat. "Zoe, please don't tell me. Not this." "I'm so sorry, Mike, but it wasn't my fault. He came up to me on his own. I was minding my own business, watching the girls and not touching anyone. But you know how quickly things can get out of hand." "Okay, hurry up and finish your sordid story so I can think about how to handle this total fiasco." "Well, I pulled him to me so his ear was right next to my lips, gently placed my hands on his big muscular shoulders and whispered sensually, 'Listen, asshole, I'm sure this works most of the time, but not today.' Then I slammed my knee as hard as I could between his legs and onto his huge balls. He bent in half, then I grabbed his hair and pulled his face up. He looked up at me in horror as I hissed, 'You're lucky my husband isn't here, asshole, and you only have to deal with me. You're a stupid asshole who needs to be taught a lesson.' Well, the lesson has already begun." "No, baby, please tell me you didn't do it." "Yes, honey, I'm telling you again, I'm sorry. But I did use my trusty brass knuckles, and I think Teddy Boy may still be in surgery with a plastic surgeon trying to fix his pretty face." "Are you calling from the back of a squad car?" "No, I've already been behind bars for about 3 hours. Gwen wanted to bail me out, but I told her to take care of the girls and I'll leave it to my big hubby to take care of his no-good wife. The nice policeman finally let me call you." "Zoe, why don't you just slap the guy and walk away? Why do you always have to prove something to someone, and again, with those brass knuckles?" "I know I should have shown more self-control, Mike, but I truly believe Teddy will be better after this lesson. I think I owed it to him to teach him some manners." "So, how'd you like the Vegas jail cell?" "Pretty good. I even made a new friend named Trixie, although she told me her name used to be Walter. But I'm telling you, she's pretty cute, and we have a nice girl talk." "All right, Zoe. I'll call Big Ed and have him work on getting you released and the charges dropped. It'll be hard to make a case for self-defense when you used brass knuckles, but I'm sure Ed knows the right judge in Vegas to call. Just as long as it doesn't come out that this isn't the first time or whatever." "Thanks, honey. I knew I could count on you." "Of course you can, but Zoe, one last thing." "Yes, baby? When you get home, for starters, I'm going to throw you over my lap for some stiff punishment, and then you're going to the bedroom for some practice. I'll be the teacher who will teach you the lesson you need to finally learn. Sorry, I have to run. Trixie wants me to show her how to use a brass knuckle before you discourage me from using it again." The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.